Pizza. It's taken an incredible resurgence lately and I am here for it. It's absolutely delicious. It's a fun thing to figure out how to do at home, but it does come with some costs because you kind of need a pizza oven. So today I want to see if we can make a pizza just as good in my home oven as we can in my pizza oven. Now, I have done a pizza video before and the inspiration for this video came from me watching that video and cringing. So if you want to laugh, go check that video out afterwards. But first up, let's make the dough. We're gonna have to go back a couple of days ago because dough takes a while to make. Now, it's not a long process, it just takes a lot of resting time. We all need our rest. So let's go back a couple of days and then I'll catch up with you then. What are you gonna need? First up, salt, and good quality sea salt at that. Dried yeast, but you don't need too much. This batch is going to make 6 pizzas and all I have is 2 grams of yeast here. Water, we're going for a 70% hydration. Make sure you measure it out first. And of course you're going to need flour, strong double O pizza flour. Now you're looking for a protein percentage of at least 11% and ideally over 12%. Now this is a Danish dough whisk and it can be kind of handy if you make dough pretty regularly. If you don't have one, don't stress, you can just use your hand. Now we're going to start by hydrating the yeast in a small amount of water from the batch you already have measured out for the whole batch of dough. Give it a mix and leave it to the side. Now we're going to do what we call an auto-lease to the flour. This isn't something to do with your car, even though I know it sounds like it, but effectively we're hydrating the flour. So take the rest of the water, add it to your weighed out flour and mix it until it becomes a shaggy mess or a loose dough. Now make sure you don't put the yeast or the salt in this yet. All that's in this bowl is flour and water. Cover it with a tea towel and let it rest for 1 hour. An hour later, let's have a look, give the dough a couple of stretch and folds and then add the yeast that's been dissolved in the water. Stretch and fold your dough until the yeast is completely absorbed. Continue to knead the dough in the bowl for about 4 or 5 more minutes. Now the dough at this point should become nice and elastic and super smooth. And now's the time to add the salt. Stretch and fold the salt through the dough until you can't feel any more grainy pieces of salt left. This should only take about 1 to 2 more minutes. Now if you're struggling with your dough and it keeps sticking to your hand, then make sure you get your hand a little bit wet. This should help with the dough sticking so much. Time for the bulk ferment. Place the dough into an airtight container, ideally with clear sides so you can keep an eye on how much it rises. Once it's in there, flatten the dough out and using masking tape to mark where the dough is so you can keep an eye on how much it rises. So we're looking for the dough to double in size. Now this is going to take anything from 5 to 10 hours depending on how hot it is where you live. If it's cold, it's just going to take longer and there's not much you can do about it apart from plan for it when you first start making the dough. And it's worth mentioning the next round of fermenting takes a long time, so you should have some time to play with up your sleeves. Alright, 5 hours later for me and this thing is doubled in size. And to be 100% honest, it's almost overproven. The issue is that nothing happens for a while and then it often catches you off guard like it has me here and it catches you by surprise. Place the dough onto your board, folding it on itself a couple of times. Then using scales, divide your dough up into 270 gram pieces. So you're going to make dough balls by taking each piece and turning it in on itself. So what you want is a tight, smooth outside. Then you're going to squeeze the bottom so it's nice and tight. What you're after is a lot of surface tension, and the more surface tension you have, the better. Place your dough balls in an airtight container. Now, if you're putting more than one in a container, make sure they've got a decent amount of space for them to relax. And if you don't have a big container, then you can just use individual ones, and that also works really well. Place your dough balls in the fridge, and you want to leave them in the fridge for at least 24 hours, or 48 hours, or even 3 days if you've got the time. The longer, the more flavor is going to develop. Back to current day, and I've pulled this out of the fridge that you saw me put it in about 2 hours ago. So we wanted this to come up to temperature and it's final proof. You can see how much they've kind of spread out and they're nice and shiny and they're still a bit tacky. This is perfect, it's what we're looking for. We need this to come up to room temperature. They're almost ready. The sauce. Now, we are making a Neapolitan style pizza. I'm not gonna go on record and say this is a very traditional pizza. It's as close as I can get with the ingredients that I've got at hand. But this is important. San Marino tomatoes. These are grown in a part of Italy, very volcanic kind of soil, make delicious tomatoes. It's worth trying to hunt some of these down. You can get them online. I actually got these in one of the major supermarkets, so they are everywhere. Unlike a New York style pizza, you're not cooking the sauce. It's raw tomatoes, some basil, just some torn leaves, nothing crazy. So I think a Neapolitan style pizza is a fantastic one to start your pizza journey on. Once you've kind of figured out this style of pizza, then you can kind of use what you've learned to start exploring other types of pizza, like New York, which has a different temperature that you cook it at, a different kind of sauce. And then there's like the Chicago style pizza, there's Detroit style pizza, there's so many types. And the only other ingredient is some good sea salt. Then with a clean hand, we simply crush these tomatoes. So we're gonna run our tests on the classic margherita pizza. I'm trying to say it correctly because it's not a margarita like a cocktail, which is just tomato sauce, cheese, basil. Then at the end, I am gonna show you a few of my other absolute favorite pizzas to cook in this style with some different ingredients, including a bianco base where we use ricotta instead of tomato. But that's it, couldn't be simpler. That's our tomato sauce done. We're gonna put that to the side, and then we're gonna get the other ingredients ready, starting with the cheese. Cheese, glorious cheese. We've got 3 types of cheese here, and you only really need 2 of them for a margherita style pizza. So you need mozzarella. So you can either use the buffalo mozzarella like you have here. These are quite wet. I'll show you a trick to kind of, well, not really a trick, a way to kind of avoid that. Otherwise you get a bit of pooling in your pizza. No one likes a soggy base. And then Florida latte, which is a cow's milk mozzarella effectively. It's a lot drier, probably easier to work with, and quite a bit cheaper as well. It's also, for some reason, the cow's milk, well, not for some reason, I think the cows here produce a much more yellow fat than they do in Italy. Italians often look at this cheese and go, that's not mozzarella, because it's far yellower than it would be in Italy, but it is mozzarella. It's just that our cows have a different diet. Pecorino Romano, not Parmesan, Pecorino. That's for the margherita as well. So to deal with this buffalo, get a tray. You can also do this the night before. Make sure that it's really nice and dry. I just like you to tray, put a towel down, have a knife handy, and then I just slice it up and let it sit on that paper towel, and it will drop any extra moisture. For the Florida latte or just the cow's milk mozzarella, we're just gonna kind of cube this up. You could grate it through, put it through a box grater if you wanted to. I kind of take slices like that and then run it down like that. I find that works just as well, and then make sure it's relatively well broken up. And then the pecorino, we're simply just gonna kind of finely grate. And last but not least, some good quality olive oil, super important. All right, let's stretch some dough and make some pizzas. All right, no pressure. First pizza of the day. It's like the first pancake. They never work out the best. And Mitchell's just told me that we're just rolling through this and not stopping. So no pressure, Andrew. So this is fine semolina. We're gonna put some on the edge. We're lifting this out. We don't want it to kind of stick, and we're trying to keep as much shape as possible. Out. Oh no, that's a shocker. That is a shocker. That's a start again. Well, I'm not gonna show you that one. Let's try that again. I'm just human. I'm not some Super Saiyan chef. All right, cut the dough out down the side. You really want to try and get this out in one foul swoop. Takes a bit of practice. You're gonna cut the dough so that it comes off its neighbor nice and easily. And then also make sure you cut into this corner and that back section there. See that this dough is nice and active. Get under, up, and in. Now, this is our opportunity to get it back into into a nice circle. So I like to flip it over at this point and get a rough circle kind of happening. And then we're gonna work from one way out, just pushing out. It's a good way to use this bowl. And this is a great time to shout out my mate for Leopard Crust Pizza. She's a pizza creator. She's hilarious. She's a great human being. And this is kind of a version of her dough. So a huge thank you to her. She's got a bunch of great techniques. So now we've kind of pushed this out. We've got like about a 1 centimeter rim nicely around. And at this point we can kind of turn it out of the bowl, or take it out of the bowl and stretch it a little bit more. I think this bowl technique is one of the best ways to get a nice round pizza early on. So flip it over onto the back of your hand and onto your bench. Now you kind of want it a little bit more even than that, but you know, that's life. And this is at the point where you're really just stretching the crust or the outside layer here. You probably don't want to stretch that base anymore at this point. And they don't need to be perfect, you know. They'll get better as you get better. Any big air pockets, there's one there, just rip it open, otherwise they'll kind of puff up really quickly and burn. We can start assembling our pizza. It's about the right size that you want, and it shouldn't stick because of all that semolina. So tomato sauce, just enough, you don't want too much. Also don't be too tight with it. Our dried buffalo mozz, just rip them up a bit. You don't want too big of pieces. Some fresh basil. There's a bit of debate whether you put basil on before or after. I think either way is kind of acceptable. Some people like to do it before, some people do it after. I prefer to do it before, and some olive oil. Nice dry peel, make sure it's dry. You don't want heaps of flour in there or it will burn. And then just gotta be confident with it. Once it's on its peel, is your last opportunity to kind of get the shape that you're really looking for. This one's not too bad. I mean, it's not perfect, that's for sure, but you just kind of want it to fill the peel. To the oven. All right, this pizza oven's been on for a while, but so it's nice and hot, but I'm gonna turn that flame down a bit to about halfway. And then we go in the center of the oven, confident, swift exit of your peel. What a peanut. Confident, swift exit of the peel. Okay, this will take about 60 to 90 seconds, won't take long to cook. Like I was saying, this pizza oven's been on a while. It's at 440 degrees Celsius, so it's nice and hot, and I turn the flame down to halfway. That's just to give it a bit more time to kind of bake. Once you start to see color on the side closest to the flame is when you can start rotating your pizza to get an even kind of coloring all around your crust. So you slide this under, make sure it's loose before you start turning it. And you see the pizziolas, they make this look so much easier than it is. Don't be afraid if you're struggling to turn it, just to pull it out, turn it and push it back in. And pretty happy with that. Let's cut it open and have a taste. Straight off the bat, if I'm critical on myself, I would have liked a little bit more color on the crust, but overall the cook's pretty good. Have a taste. I feel like I'm gonna eat a lot of pizza today, so I'm gonna make nice small pieces. But this is kind of what you're looking for. You know, crunch, oh, that's a bit of a dark, probably a little bit too dark on the bottom, but this part's nice and crunchy and nice and aerated. That's a nice color there. Happy with that. Let's see what it tastes like. Oh. Wow. That was a wow because it's super hot, not because it's delicious. It is delicious, but it's really good. I'm really happy with the undercarriage on that. Probably is a little bit dark, if I'm perfectly honest. I think that's probably because I had too much semolina on the bottom. Probably should have dusted some of that off. But overall, I'm really happy with that cook. Cheese is nicely melted. That cross section of the dough, I'm really happy with, that crumb in the center. The sauce is delicious, it's seasoned well, there is nothing wrong with that pizza at all. But let's stretch another dough, put it in the oven and see how it compares. All right, for the oven, stretch your dough, tomato sauce, buffalo mozzarella, a little bit of pecorino, basil, olive oil. All right, oven's on as high as it can go, 250. And we've got a pizza steel in here. I'll talk about that in a second. Let's get this pizza in. Same as before, swift exit, back in the oven and close the door. Now that's gonna take a lot longer than that one. I reckon it's gonna take about 5 minutes, but we'll check it. We won't need to move it as much either because the heat's far more even. So like I was saying, that oven is on 250 degrees Celsius. That's as hot as that oven will go. It's as hot as most ovens will go, which is 250 Celsius is 480 Fahrenheit. You might get your ovens up to 500 Fahrenheit in the States, some of them, but most of them only go to 250 Celsius. So there's the debate pizza steel versus pizza stone. I am team pizza steel because I think that they retain heat better and I think that they're far more durable. If you drop a pizza stone, it's gonna shatter. You drop a pizza steel, it might break your toe, but it's definitely not gonna break. I reckon it's time to get this out. So we haven't got much color, but the cheese is really melted. Oh, sounds all right. Straight off the bat, the dough has risen nicely. You can see that crumb inside there is good. It's cooked all the way through, but there's no color on the dough at all, which I'm not a huge fan of. And the cheese is kind of over melted. I'm really happy with that, the rise on that dough.
It is not a piece of pizza.
Gets the job done. It's definitely not a Neapolitan style pizza. You really need that temperature to get that flavor from, the crust and the char on the crust. Now, if I got served this in a Neapolitan style pizza restaurant, I'd probably be disappointed. If I got served this at the local pub, I'd be perfectly fine with it. If you're learning how to make pizza before you want to invest in like a big pizza oven, then nothing wrong with it. So you can see here what I'm saying about the cheese. All the fats come out of it and it's split, whereas this is held together. And you can see here, the color of the base of the undercarriage is greatly different, which is where you get a lot of the flavor from this type of pizza. You actually taste the tomato sauce a lot more in the one made in the oven than the one made in the pizza oven, because I think you're just kind of losing the complexity of the dough when you're not getting that extra flavor. Still delicious though.
Would you serve
Great question, Dazz. Yeah, why not? If we were in an Airbnb, I didn't have my pizza oven and we were all craving pizza, why not? They'd probably yell at me, but you know, that's just because they're spoiled and they eat delicious food all the time. Pizza dance. Is it a Neapolitan style pizza? No, it's definitely not. But it's an edible pizza and it's still delicious. If you want to dabble in the home pizza space, it's a great place to start. Because like most things in life, your first 5 or 6 times you make dough, the pizza's not gonna be perfect anyway. But now, I'm gonna make a couple more of my absolute favorite other toppings for Neapolitan style pizza. Let's stretch some more dough. So first up, we're gonna make a Bianco base. I have some ricotta here, which I've kind of just lightly whipped. And then after we'll garnish with some prosciutto and some rocket and a drizzle of really good quality balsamic vinegar from Modena, where balsamic vinegar is actually from. Delicious stuff. It's actually like, it's crazy how different like the real stuff tastes. So I've got a stretched dough here. Carefully just gonna put some ricotta on here. Onto my peel. A little bit of pecorino, a little bit of olive oil. Really happy with the undercarriage on this one. So really happy with that cook, to be perfectly honest. I think this is what you're looking for. The old leopard crust, eh? And the undercarriage is nice and cooked. Super happy. We're gonna cut prosciutto, some rocket or arugula if you're from the US, balsamic. Now that's a pizza to get excited about. All right, let's have a taste. I've let it cool it down this time. Actually, that undercarriage is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The last one was probably a little bit more charred on that first margarita that we made. That one's pretty much bang on. That's delicious. The creamy ricotta, the smoky prosciutto, the peppery rocket, and that sweet balsamic. That is one of my favorite pizzas. It's absolutely delicious. Anyway, I'm gonna show you one more, mainly because I wanna eat it, and it's a bit more of a classic. I don't think the Italians are gonna like this one, but it's basically like my version of a pepperoni. Tomato sauce, pepperoni. We don't get the pepperoni that cups like you get in the US. I don't know why, I haven't been able to find a version of it here, but this is a good pepperoni. Just a mild one, not a spicy one, because basic Mitch. And then cheese, and I'm gonna use the Florida latte or the low moisture cow's milk mozzarella. And a New York style pizza too. They put the pepperoni on top of the cheese instead of underneath it. I like putting the cheese on top because I feel like it holds everything in. Bit of olive oil for good luck, to the oven. There it is. Pretty good cook on that one. Don't know why it kind of riz really well on that side and not so on this side, but. What's the undercarriage like? Oh, pretty good, happy with that. I'm not gonna eat that right now because it's gonna destroy my mouth. You can see the cheese just melts a lot better, like as far as like stretchy mozzarella-y cheese, and it doesn't split as well. I'm sure that's because there's chemicals in there. But you can see how stretchy that goes. Oh, don't make him fool yourself on camera. Yum. Has a different texture, you know, a bit more of a bite, a bit more chew. Yum, good pizza. To me, that tastes like an elevated commercial pizza shop pizza. I don't want to mention any brands, but you know what I'm trying to say. It tastes like it should taste. You know, a little bit of heat from that salami. The cheese is nice and cheesy with a bit of bite. Delicious dough with actual flavor. How good's that? Seasoned well, nothing wrong with that at all. So recap, pizza's delicious. We all know what it is. It's not that hard. Make sure you take the time to make some weekend for your mates. They'll love you for it. Try doing it in domestic oven. If you realize you love the hobby as much as I do, invest in a pizza oven. Thanks so much for watching this one, legends. I've had heaps of fun making this one. I love making pizza at home, and a huge shout out again to Leopard Crust Pizza because she has taught me a lot in her pizza journey along the way. If you want to go and watch something really cringy, go follow and check out my, do follow, but go check out my old pizza video as well. It's pretty funny. It was just me filming with a really average setup, but it's fun to watch. Thanks, legends. Subscribe if you're not. Like this video if you took anything from it. We'll see you soon. Peace.